Now, I am here to tell you guys, Caitlyn Clark has been missing in action for quite some time, man. She's been missing a lot of games this season. I did a video yesterday kind of letting y'all know, man, I feel as if, this is my theory, Caitlyn Clark adding all that muscle a little bit too quick, fast, and in a hurry could be part of the reason why she got injured, bro. Now, with that being said, that's not to take away from how physical the league.
So you thought the WNBA drama couldn't get any weirder? Well, buckle up, because a medical expert just dropped a groin-sized bombshell about Caitlyn Clark. And no, we're not talking about sneakers or stats. We're talking about a chilling groin update that's got fans gasping, rivals grinning, and Google working overtime. Is it serious? Is it sabotage? Or is it just the wildest plot twist since a ref called a foul on Gravity? But stick around, this one's juicy and oddly medical.
Yeah, late last night. I think it's very much a day-to-day thing, how she responds to treatment. I stay in my lane and let our strength and conditioning and our physical, our AT staff do what they do best. But yeah, I found out late last night, and then we'll treat it day to day.
Back to back, a factor at all with that?
I mean, I don't know if it's a factor from a physical standpoint, from an athletic training standpoint. Certainly in my mind, it is. But at the same time, she's shown that she's tough, and
It's deja vu all over again. Caitlyn Clark's body is out here waving white flags before her wall even gets built. 2 injuries, not 1, 2, and it's only July. What's next? Bubble wrap uniforms and a full-time sideline chiropractor with a PhD in WNBA wear and tear? This girl was supposed to light the league on fire, not be handed a permanent reservation on the injury report.
Caitlyn Clark has already been ruled out for Thursday night's game against the Las Vegas Aces. Stephanie White offering up some comments that has fans concerned this injury may be more severe than we were led to believe, have fans speculating that she's going to be held out all the way up until All-Star.
It's starting to feel like someone out there is either building a voodoo doll collection or writing a very aggressive soap opera script. And while the league parades around pretending everything's fine, fans are left clutching their Caitlyn Clark jerseys like emotional support blankets. 2 injuries in your debut season doesn't scream generational superstar ascension, it screams, Houston, we've got a problem, and it's limping.
How did you feel after going through whatever, to what extent you went through today?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good. I'm going to be day-to-day from here on out, and doing everything I can to put myself in a position to play the next game every single time. That's always my goal, is to be available for the next game, and doing everything I can with the medical staff to be able to get my body right, to be able to do that. And but yeah, I feel good, and just.
And let's not pretend it's just any injury. This isn't a rolled ankle after a bad landing or a jammed finger from catching bricks all game. This is the type of groin drama that makes Olympic gymnasts wince. The kind of injury that has you walking like a malfunctioning Roomba and suddenly finding every chair in the room absolutely vital. She was literally sitting on a thick blue cushion like she just finished a horse riding marathon.
So, this right here was released yesterday. It stated, when will Caitlyn Clark return? Caitlyn Clark has missed the last 4 games and will miss tonight's game against the Los Angeles Sparks. Explains why her groin strain was never a day-to-day injury. Now, I do want to let y'all know before we get into this video, this is something that I want to say and talk about. Now, we know the front office and Stephanie said this was going to be a day-to-day thing.
And don't say that's normal, because it's not. She doesn't normally roll around with orthopedic accessories like she's a grandma trying to get through Sunday service. That cushion wasn't just a prop. It was a red flag wrapped in foam. It screamed, something ain't right. Like, did anyone else notice? Or did the entire WNBA universe just shrug and call it load management vibes? If your star rookie is one hip shift away from screaming, that's not vibes. That's a medical emergency wrapped in PR silence. And here's where the real fear creeps in. When she does come back, we're not getting Caitlyn Clark. We're getting a version that's been filtered through injuries, system shackles, and whatever game plan the coaching staff borrowed from a 1994 playbook. It's not recovery we're scared of, it's the erasure. Because the moment she returns, she's not going to be dropping logo threes or slicing through defenders like a lightsaber on caffeine. No, she's going to be out there playing boring basketball. Safe, predictable, painfully structured. And you already know who's behind that kind of transformation. The same system that thinks creativity is a technical foul. The same structure that sees flair and decides it's time for a timeout. Caitlyn's been drafted into a team that wants her to pass more, shoot less, and definitely not attract too much attention. It's like buying a Ferrari and deciding it should never go over 30 MF. Complete and utter crime.
So, lads, today we got a little bit of an update on the old Caitlyn Clark injury, lads. And obviously this is from Tony East. He is one of the reporters that is, well, has been showing off quite a lot of the things from Fever, practices them regularly, and gets the old scoop with the coaches. So, we saw here clips of Caitlyn Clark just getting a shooting workout in. We saw her at times kind of doing stuff that looked like it was movements that maybe might be a little bit tough to kind of push off from, which, in fairness, I think a lot of the movements.
Nobody shows up to watch WNBA version of Clark who cautiously swings the ball around the perimeter. People show up for fireworks, chaos, buckets, and that sneaky little smirk after a logo 3 that makes defenders reevaluate their career paths. But no, the new version, post-injury, post-cushion, post-system, is going to be neutered, drained of risk, fear, and fun, and it makes the stomach churn. Because once you lose that edge, it's hard to get it back. She's not just healing a body, she's fighting for her identity. Meanwhile, the coaching staff is out here smiling like everything's under control. Trust the process, they say. Sure, let's trust the same process that had her on the court with groin pain on a cushion and somehow still running full minutes the next game. Trust the process that would rather duct tape a problem than solve it. At this rate, they'll be asking her to suit up in a walking boot by next week, so long as she keeps the ball moving. Let's talk about that trust thing for a second, shall we? If there's one thing this situation proves, it's that trust is for fairy tales and Disney Channel story arcs. The way this league and its franchises treat their stars is straight out of a circus run by interns. You get hurt.
Status Coach White gave us an update on Caitlyn Clark.
We see Caitlyn down there. Is there anything new about her status or day-to-day? Is she going to be able to play tomorrow?
No, she's going to be out tomorrow.
Is there any updated timeline in your head of when she could return this weekend, sooner after that?
I don't have anything in my head other than what I'm told. You know, my goal has always been the same. Like, I don't want this to be something that lingers, that we come back too soon. We want to make sure that she is 100% ready to go and that we put her long-term health and wellness
They'll patch you up, slap a sticker on your jersey, and tell the media you're day-to-day, which really means we're crossing our fingers and hoping the swelling goes down by Tuesday. And don't think fans aren't noticing. The patience of every person who bought tickets expecting to see a future legend, not someone impersonating her because the medical staff decided rest was a myth. And let's not ignore the weird energy around her whole situation. Every time she hits the floor, it's like the WNBA holds its breath. But instead of protecting her like a crown jewel, they act like she's just another piece of the roster puzzle. Except she's not. She's the puzzle, the box, and the reason people even opened it in the first place. But nah, let's just pretend nothing's wrong. Let's keep pretending that Caitlyn Clark casually needing orthopedic seating arrangements mid-season is just one of those things. Let's pretend 2 injuries before the All-Star break isn't a 5-alarm fire. Let's keep pretending that stripping the flair out of her game in the name of structure is somehow a long-term strategy instead of creative homicide.
Let's start off with the elephant in the room. Caitlyn Clark ruled out for Thursday with a groin injury. How they were playing this entire time between day-to-day and game-time decision and questionable, I was skeptical. I had to go straight to the source, and sure enough, the Indiana Fever, more than 24 hours advance, let fans know, hey, Caitlyn's not going to be there. Instead of having you drive 5 hours only to realize 2 hours away, she's out. After flying 10 hours, only to realize 5 hours in the air, she's out.
Because at this point, that's what it is. Murder of the basketball soul. If the league keeps turning its most dynamic player into a robot with a buzzer-beater allergy, then it deserves the inevitable nosedive. She wasn't drafted to play background jazz. She's a headliner. The league doesn't need a player that resembles Caitlyn Clark. It needs Caitlyn Clark. Unfiltered, unbothered, and most importantly, unleashed. Instead, we're now at the mercy of the "trust us, she's fine" narrative, while the real story unfolds behind a thick blue cushion, 2 injuries deep, and a game plan that's allergic to excitement. And if that doesn't make your blood boil, check your pulse. You might already be playing for the Indiana coaching staff. Because the minute you start treating a phenom like a liability, you've already lost. And once that swagger disappears, replaced with play it safe passes and 1 foot in, 1 foot out drives, the league won't just lose a player, it'll lose its pulse. Caitlyn Clark was the heartbeat, but if the injuries don't do her in, the system might. And that's the real injury no one's diagnosing.
Viewers at home, I'm concerned about Caitlyn Clark, and I'm going to say something very honest. When you transition from college to a pro sport, you have to not only be able to handle it mentally, you have to be able to handle it physically. Correct. Caitlyn Clark played roughly 100 games in high school, missed 1. Caitlyn Clark played 139 games in college, missed none. She's played 16 games this season and has missed 8. The Fever have played 16, she's missed 8. Caitlyn Clark emotionally, can she handle the WNBA? Absolutely. I don't think there is an individual in sports in the last 15 years that has had to take on more than Caitlyn Clark. One, because of social media. It's bigger now than...
And here's the terrifying part. This whole thing is starting to smell like a trap. Not the dramatic movie / kind with lasers and suspenseful music, but the corporate kind. The trap that looks like flashing lights, roaring fans, glittery endorsements, and a giant invisible cage disguised as a marketing strategy. Because what's being dangled in front of Caitlyn Clark right now isn't just an all-star selection. This isn't about honoring her performance. It's about squeezing every last dollar out of the one rookie who's made the cash registers ring since Game 1. And if she dares say no, if she dares to put her health and longevity ahead of their desperation for attention, well, that would cost them millions. Not her, them. That's why the pressure's suffocating. Because they don't care that she's limping. They don't care that her groin is screaming louder than the ticket scalpers outside the arena. All they care about is that jersey sales spike when she's announced in the starting 5, and that the All-Star Game's ratings don't collapse into a polite golf clap without her on the court.
Did all of this during the off season. She wasn't doing that many 5v5 runs. She obviously wasn't playing in an organized league. So all this muscle mass came on really quickly, and I'm sure that it changed the mechanics of her body. But the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. And with women as well, we are more prone to knee injuries even than the men because of the angle that our hips go to our knees. So the last thing you want is her compensating or her groin not firing properly, and she goes to cut to the side, and then all of a sudden something blows in.
Let's not pretend this is subtle. It's not. They want her to dance. They want her to smile. They want her to nod politely at pre-game pressers, grit through the pain, and pretend she's just excited to represent the fans. This is a league that can't go 5 minutes without tripping over its own contradictions, and now they've set their sights on the one player who can't afford to bend. But if she does, if she caves, even slightly, what comes next is predictable. It's a slow descent into system approval, and when the injuries pile up again, when the groin turns into a hamstring or a knee or whatever body part decides it's tired of being overused and under-rested, they'll just shake their heads and whisper about wear and tear. Because that's the other part of the trap. The moment she stops being profitable, she becomes replaceable. It's harsh, but it's the cold truth. They'll cry legacy while casually rewriting her role into irrelevance. She had so much promise, they'll say, as if they weren't the ones who lit the candle at both ends.
The misnomer of day-to-day was unfair to the fans, in my opinion, and there's a lot of thoughts around why that this has been used and for ticket sales and all sorts of stuff. I think those are in a lot of ways rational based on the numbers that we have seen, thoughts of what could be happening. I think that they were hopeful that since it was mild and they read it as mild initially on scans or what have you, and saying lots of things like she's a quick healer, that they were hopeful they could get her back sooner rather than later. However, the reality is I think that as they've gone on and developed and they've kind of bonded and informed through these games, winning the Commissioner Cup with Caitlyn Clark on the bench, I think that they've gotten more confidence in playing.
So here's what needs to happen, and quickly. She needs to slam the brakes, not just slow down, full stop. because this All-Star game isn't some harmless exhibition. It's a loaded weapon aimed at long-term value, out of the recognition that no one else is going to protect her legacy but her. The league won't do it. The team won't do it. And the fans, as loyal as they are, don't get a vote when the groin goes pop in the middle of an unnecessary spin move in an irrelevant game. Waiting for the second half of the season isn't a sign of weakness. It's the smartest move on the board. It says, I know what I'm worth and I won't trade it for your short-term photo op. It says my career is more important than your PR tour. And most importantly, it says you don't get to own me just because you drafted me. Because make no mistake, every step she takes toward this All-Star appearance under these conditions isn't just a step toward injury, it's a step away from the player she actually is.
More weight. Emotionally, she's fine. Mentally, she's fine. Spiritually, I don't know. Physically, it's in question. Because they're 8-8, but you've missed 8 games. You missed the first 5 games with a quad injury. Right. You missed the last 3 games with a groin injury. Soft tissue injuries are injuries, you know, based upon playing pro sports. Soft tissue injuries are injuries that are most preventable. Those are injuries that occur because of excess usage. Those are injuries that occur because maybe your kinetic chain is off. Those are injuries that occur because there's too much load on your body, either in practice or in games. She's had 2 injuries now. Both injuries are soft.
The further she leans into their version of her, the more she risks becoming unrecognizable to the game that built her. That edge, that flair, that defiance. Those aren't side effects, and that's the real danger. Because once she gets too comfortable playing their game, scheduling her appearances, managing her expression, tailoring her game to fit their bland blueprint, she stops being Caitlyn Clark and starts being WNBA Product 1. And that transformation, that's the point of no return. Once she becomes what they want, she'll never get back what she was. So the answer is easy, even if the decision isn't. Sit. Heel. Refuse to dance for their money machine.
All right. So we've talked WNBA, we've talked Angel Reese, we've talked all the things that are going on. There's been this back and forth from all the WNBA players that the league is not just Caitlyn Clark. Stop acting like the league is not just Caitlyn Clark. There are other people who are doing things. So Caitlyn Clark has been injured, so she hasn't been playing. Since Caitlyn Clark went down, the WNBA ratings have dropped over 55% across the board.
Hey, guess what, guys?
The league is Caitlyn Clark.
Let the All-Star game go on without her and watch how fast the panic sets in. Because when the cash flow slows down, suddenly everyone remembers how much they need her. And when it hits zero, the player the world fell in love with, the fearless, 3-dropping, stat-banking phenom, gets replaced by a cautious version playing someone else's game. And that would be the real tragedy. Not the injury, not the All-Star absence, but the slow erasure of everything that made her matter, all in the name of a dollar sign.